Authorities in Tennessee are considering the death penalty for two suspects accused in the kidnapping and murder of Holly Bobo. Holly vanished 3.5 years ago. Police say her remains finally have been found in the woods not far from her hometown of Parsons, Tennessee, about 10 miles from the home of one of the suspects. Bobo was 20 when she disappeared the morning of April 13th, 2011. Her brother told police at the time he'd looked outside, saw a man leading her away into the woods just before 8 a.m. He thought it was her boyfriend. Then in March of this year, authorities announced they charged Zachary Adams with kidnapping and murder. On April 29th of this year, authorities announced a second arrest. Jason Autry also charged with kidnapping and murder. This Sunday, two men discovered human remains in a stretch of woods in northern Decatur County. Those turned out to be those of Holly Bobo. Lise Wheel is a former prosecutor and Fox News legal analyst. Doug Burns is a defense attorney and former prosecutor. Welcome to both of you. It's a very sad case. We've been following it for a long time. The last time I think we talked about this case, it was because the two suspects, and they are suspects, presumed innocent until proven guilty, but two of the suspects had been charged with murder, and yet police did not have a body. We talked about that. Now they have her skeletal remains.
It's more difficult to prosecute a case for murder when you don't have the body. You can do it, but it's much more difficult. Now they have her remains, so they have the forensics they can, ultimately attach to these two individuals, and there may be more. Also, the prosecutors have said that there are thousands of papers, or pages of papers that are attached to these suspects, and potentially a video with her and one of the suspects. Yeah, there are. This apparently, Doug, is the most expensive and extensive criminal investigation ever conducted in the history of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. And yet we know very little about the evidence they actually have.
That's a great point. As I was looking at this, and Lisa and I were discussing this, it's like, they say they have thousands of pages of material, but it's very hard to piece together exactly what's going on. You have two suspects on the crime itself, John, and then you have two charged, I think you said this at the outset, as accessories after the fact, which would be helping possibly dispose of the remains, that type of thing. But right now, we really don't know where it stands. And it's also confusing because apparently the victim walked away from her house with somebody who was wearing camouflage. But he was carrying a gun or something like that. Exactly.
Holding a gun. I mean, absolutely. And it's not unusual for prosecutors to withhold, to not give us the evidence that they know, because they want to protect that and wait until those opening statements and even into closing arguments to give the statements.
I guess hats off to them for keeping this case under wraps. I mean, there has not been a lot of information leaked, but there was testimony in a pretrial hearing from a woman who said that she saw a video of Holly Bobo tied up and crying, and apparently one of these guys who's been charged with in the crime, in connection with the crime, is also seen in that same video.
I saw that footage of her testimony, and that's actually a big thing that's going to have to be sorted out, because apparently she's friends with one of the people now charged, and she says, look, I saw a video of the victim, tied up, emotional, crying. Now, the authorities, back to what you guys were just saying, either have already found and identified that video and aren't necessarily coming forward with it, or they haven't. I mean, that's going to be a critical piece of evidence. And bringing that witness in and, talking to the witness and getting her statement as well as to what she actually saw. So that's all very important, and it's going to come out at trial.
That can be a video that is taken on a cell phone, and you can erase those things. You can throw the cell phone in a lake someplace.
Oh, absolutely.
But if she testifies that she saw it, that's still, it's not the video itself, but it's her sworn testimony that she did indeed see that around the time of the...
does that not become hearsay evidence?
Yeah, John makes a good evidentiary point, though. The point is, it might be hearsay first go around, but if you can establish, and I think Lisa might be right, if you can establish that the original's gone, then maybe the testimony comes in.
There's no, it's best evidence rule. There's no other way to get to it but for her testimony, because the video's actually gone. You can't get to it.
But it is technically hearsay, though.
Well, but best evidence rule.
So that evidence can come into open court, even if they don't.
Certainly going to argue for that. Yes.
Even if they don't have the actual video, and we don't know. Again, we don't know
a lot. If a piece of evidence has been destroyed, then you go back to what I call the evidentiary rule, which is called best evidence. If you don't have the actual piece, the actual thing it's been destroyed, then you can go to someone who actually saw it and can testify about it.
However, little devil's advocate, best evidence, or what really should be called original document rule, is more with documents. But I don't disagree with this.
Zachary Adams is one of those who's been arrested. He's charged with especially aggravated kidnapping and first-degree felony murder. Jason Autry also charged with those same two things. And then two brothers, Jeffrey and Mark Piercy, charged with tampering with evidence and accessory after the fact.
Can I just focus on one thing, the especially aggravated part of that? That means what that tells me is that prosecutors have something on those two, that it, as horrible as kidnapping is and murder, obviously, there was something else that happened in there. We don't know if it was a sexual assault or something, but especially aggravated, that tells me a lot.
And think about it, the accessory after the fact implies that they know specifically that something took place after the crime. Police, you can kind of deduce that from the fact that two people have been charged as accessories after the fact.
And it's been 3.5 years before we've found her remains.
Well, it is
a very sad case.
It's a very sad case. Her brother apparently saw her being led off into the woods. Thought she was just going off with her boyfriend. The mother called home
911,
and said,
but got the wrong 911. I mean,
there were just a lot of bad things that happened that morning.
Terrible case.
Very sad.
We will certainly keep an eye on what happens. Lee Wheel, Doug Burns, thank you both.
My pleasure, John.